Today I'm sharing with you a true wrap dress. It can also be a top, and I'm going to be sharing sort of different, easier way to sew pleats to make them really precise. The pattern is full of the most interesting things you'll ever see. Sneak peek at the back. Look at all those pleats, so cool. Lots of fun sewing to see today. Keep watching. Hi sewing friends, my name's Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today is all about a top I made. This video is my participation for SEWATOP, a really cool event put together by my friend Claire from Penguin and Pear. And there are 31 different sewing channels, vloggers, showing different tops during the month of August. So there's a lot of tops you can see and lots of reviews. And also it's a great chance to find new sewing channels that you might not have come across. Yesterday's video was made by Lucy. She is in the UK. And tomorrow's video is from Adrienne, and she is in Canada, and her channel's name is Handmade Everyday by Adrienne. So follow along. I will leave a playlist of all the videos down below, and you have a lot of fun videos to watch there from all different sewing channels from all around the world. So I'm really excited to also be a part. And I have chosen a top that is called the Adeline Wrap top, and this is from a brand based in New Zealand called Forget Me Not Patterns. And she has been coming up with these really just very interesting designs, very original, not what you usually see. And I was so drawn to this top when I saw Kira from Island Socialist make it. She was a pattern tester. She did a video review about it on her channel. I will put a picture here so you can see her video. Go ahead and check that one out as well. Just beautiful. In the month of June, I was going to sew a type of wrap top or dress for Patreon for the orchid tea that gets a full sew along every month. And this was the pattern that won. I put up the information for 3 different ones, and lots of people really like this style there. So I did make it up back in June, but I knew I was reserving it for a special occasion, and it's the perfect top to review for SEWATOP. As I mentioned, this is a true wrap dress or top. You can choose the length that you want. On the front and the back, it's got these awesome dramatic diagonal type of pleats that meet with each other on the bodice and the skirt or peplum, front and back. That is immediately what got to me. I was like, oh, that's so cool. That one must be so fun to sew. The neckline, and it goes down all the way to the hem, all the way around, is finished with bias tape. I love that because it's curves everywhere, and it's like the best way to do that. For the neckline, there's a short collar option or just a simple wrap option. And for the arms, you can choose from short sleeves or long sleeves. Both of these have this coolest pleat dart detail there on the side. It's so awesome, never seen that before. Super fun to sew. And just recently she came up with a free update and a new add-on that is free if you already purchased the pattern, that gives you different bodice pieces if you want to make it sleeveless. So it's a closed, smaller armhole, that will prevent gaping, because usually when you have designs that have sleeves and you want to make them sleeveless, you have to do a lot of tweaking to the armhole. I'm always doing that thing. So if a pattern wants to give me all that done for me, I'm all for it. And now I have a pattern that has a sleeveless version. Although I didn't have that option when I made it, I have it now, and I'm definitely going to go ahead and use that option again because sleeveless is my jam. If you are making the dress version, there are inseam pockets that you can add. I know a lot of people do like those. I decided to make the peplum version, so the pockets were out of the picture. But if I was making the dress, I still wouldn't make the pockets. I think light to medium weight wovens are the best choice for this design, depending on the look you want, whether you want it more structured, what type of fabric you choose. If you really want these pleats to stick out and be really noticeable, you would go for linen, cotton, chambray, that type of fabric. If you want a more softer look, you could choose rayon twill, Tencel Twill, silk, crepe, that sort of thing. I'm always going for the softer, flowier type looks because that's just what I like, and I chose Tencel Twill for mine. I know I wouldn't like the pleats to be really sticking out. I wouldn't want that. And also, because you're going to take the time to sew all these pleats, and there are many of them, if you choose a print, no one will see them. So I would stay with solids, and that is actually why I chose a gray Tencel Twill, because every little detail that I've taken my time to sew precisely is going to be seen, and it's really going to show off the design with that type of fabric. You know, a print, it's going to be lost in there. It will just look like a top, and what's the point? The sizing numbers here look different from 28 to 48, and they actually correspond to the measurements of the bust. So the upper measurements in this pattern will cater to a 48-inch bust and a 52.5-inch hip. There is a lot of positive ease on the bust, about 6 inches, and at the hips about 5. So although it says there that it's drafted for a B cup, I would suggest maybe it will still fit a C and a D cup because of all those pleatings and because of all the ease there. I don't think you will have an issue if you have a C or a D cup sewing cup size. I have a C cup and I'm perfectly fine. I know Kira mentioned that she has a larger cup size and she was perfectly fine with hers as well. I did make a quick ugly muslin non-wearable out of this terrible green fabric, and I wanted to see how that short collar would look on me, knowing deep down it wouldn't really suit me. Short collars tend to emphasize the bust in my opinion, and because the short collar is there and you have pleats and it's a wrap, I thought it would just emphasize my bust too much. At least I was able to confirm that it wasn't an option I was going to choose. I just decided the simple neckline. Also, I had this feeling that the bodice might be a little bit too short for me because I did some flat pattern measurements. And yeah, I needed 5/8 of an inch more for it actually to hit my waist. Also, the peplum, I found it too short on me. I am a bit taller than what the pattern is drafted for. So I did add 2 inches to the length. Anyway, you will see a lot of this in the practical segment of this video. In Up Close and So Personal, you're going to see some prep work, some pattern adjustments, how I'm cutting, how I'm marking, and especially I'm emphasizing on these pleats. I am sewing them in a little bit different way than the pattern suggests. And not that it's wrong, because every single pattern that has pleats I've seen uses this method that this pattern has also. It's just that through my experience and trial and error, I sometimes find methods that are actually easier, although they seem a little bit lengthier, but precision is key, and I really wanted these pleats to meet precisely at the bodice and the peplum. So I'm going to show you this other option. You might want to try this if you are sewing a garment with pleats. So let's go ahead. I have 59-inch wide fabric there, and I have 50 inches long, or 1.25 meters. So that's what I had, and so I decided to do the top. This is a peplum piece, the one that goes below the waist, that one and that one. There is a cut line there, and when I made the muslin, I thought, you know, it's a little bit short for me. So from there, I added 2 inches. I just kept the curve there as smooth as possible, and just added from there 2 more inches so that the peplum hits a little bit lower. That is a tie that you have to cut twice, but one is going to be long and one is going to be shorter, so they're not the same length ties. That area there is where the shorten and lengthen line was for the bodice pieces, and I just cut there, added paper, ended up adding 5/8 of an inch for the front and the back. I needed that. And then over there is the sleeve. I'm doing the short sleeve, and there's a little pleat and a dot detail there. That's why that looks funny there. This is a facing that will be for the hem of the sleeves, and it's got a funny shape, needs to be interfaced. So I'm gonna wait till everything's cut out, and from these pieces, once they're extended, because that's on the fold, I'll be able to cut this twice. I'll be block fusing this. So cutting these little jagged edges because of the shape there, I'm doing it by scissors. Get rid of that, but I'm just being super careful with these corners here. And actually, I'd rather just leave excess there and then cut there and then cut from there. So I'll cut into there first and then come back and cut there. See, and it's really accurate. There's no way I could do this with a rotary cutter. That's why I'm not using the rotary cutter to cut these shapes there. There are a lot of pleats to mark, and for my muslin I was more basic in the way I mark them, so that's why you see I punched tiny little holes and I just marked with ink and then just drew them out. But for the real one, yes, I want to be accurate. So I have my tracing paper under there, touching the wrong side of the one on the bottom, and I've released the pins that were holding that down there, and I'll be moving this tracing paper as I mark because it doesn't fit across. But I just want to mark these really strongly I only have yellow. You will be able to see these faint yellow lines under there. If you notice, some of these lines finish right in the middle of these tips here, and the other ones are in other sections. So I am marking here on the wrong side of the fabric. This is meant to be marked on the right side of the fabric, and then you're supposed to fold this over there. But I just find that way more difficult when you want to do pleats. So I'm not going to consider the direction of these little arrows for now in the way I'm going to just baste these pleats together. I will go back to the direction of how they're meant to go when I'm done basting them. I've got a ruler and I've got a friction pen, and I'm just going to mark lines on top of them, and these will be easy to see. These are two pieces that have already been fused. You can see right sides together there, and the wrong sides already have the interfacing on there, both sides. So I'm going to cut it out now after having fused it, and this is what block fusing does. It just keeps this facing the same size, because fusing usually makes the fibers shrink and you end up with smaller facings that don't fit your main piece. This is one of the fronts, the raw edge there. You can see the curve, how this is going to wrap. And after cutting it, marking it, I came here and put it here really gently, careful not to deform this area. And the instructions say you can cut a strip of interfacing, non-stretch interfacing of course, just 3/8 wide, and I've done that. And now I'm just going to really carefully fuse that on. So this basically replaces stay stitching. You wouldn't need to stay stitch because this already stabilized this neckline. These are the main pattern pieces. That is the front right there, and the edge of the center front has been stabilized with a strip of fusible interfacing. That is the bottom bead that goes attached to the bottom for the front. That's for the back. Both backs are on the fold. There on the top you can see that's been stabilized also with a strip of interfacing. And there we can see the sleeve hem facing, the long tie and the short tie. This is the bottom of the front, and you can see the pleat marks there. They're sort of in all different shapes and diagonal. These were supposed to be marked on the right side, but I don't really like marking pleats on the right side. The way I like to do pleats, they need to be marked on the wrong side. It's not that different, it's just easier. And I'm all for easier and more precision. So I'm just gonna fold them onto each other, these lines here, and meet them. And I'm just going to pin them in the shape that they're marked. In the pattern, these pleats aren't meant to be sewn or anything, they're just meant to be like basted at the bottom. I think actually sewing this with a basting stitch is just going to be easier, and then the basting stitch can be removed later. It's easier than just trying to fold them onto each other where you could get imprecise results. The direction of these arrows is not important right now while we're basting these pleats. Okay, here we have another side, and we have the arrows marking that way. Just pretend this is the right side of the fabric, okay, where the pleats were supposed to be marked. What you would have to do is take this line and put it on top of that line, just like this. And then you would like pin it there, then take this line and put it on top of the other line and pin it there. And then take this other line and put it there. But remember, this is being done on the right side of the fabric. I have the wrong side because that's where I did my marks. But this is how you would make the pleats, and then you would baste across. I just think this method is not that accurate. You know, the fold that you did with your fingers there on the lines might not be exact. I find that when you actually sew the pleat with a basting stitch, you get super accurate folds. And you're not meant to iron these. You're not supposed to press them ever on the iron. You're just supposed to let them drape nicely. It even says on the instructions, don't press these. You know, you can go ahead and make your pleats like this if you like. Again, on the right side of the fabric, so this would have been marked on this side. You can do that if you want to, but the way I'm doing it, I find it more accurate and just easier. And we're still going to have the pleats going in the right way. So there's lots of pleats to sew with a basting stitch. These are the ones from the top, from the bodice, 1, 2, 3. So 6 there, and then at the bottom we have 6 also. They're all slanty, they go in different directions, but I'm just following the line that was marked on the pattern to sew with a long stitch. Okay, so that's one of the fronts sewn, long stitch. And look, if you try to direct these pleats to the wrong way, you'll know straight away. Look, if you try to fold them this way, look at all these jagged raw areas that go up like that. So that is obviously not the way the pleats are supposed to go. This is the center. They're not supposed to go to the center. They're supposed to go to the side. When you direct them to the side, you can see the bottom edges line up straight away. And that's because this was how it was trued. So immediately you know that this is the correct way. So you don't really have to think about the arrows too much. I think those little arrows on patterns just confuse people. And you're always meant to have everything lining up there because that was how the pattern was trued, you know? If you want to make a mistake and you're doing them the wrong way, these things there should alert you that it's not right. So basically these pleats would go towards the side seam. And now that they've been sewn, I'm just going to go ahead and baste them at the bottom, just within the seam allowance. Seam allowance here is only 3/8 of an inch, so it'll be close to the edge. Back is an extended piece. It was cut on the fold, and also it has a really funny shape at the bottom because that's how the pleats were trued. And in the center, there's a V there. You can see the shape of these pleats are very funny. That one there doesn't go to the end of the fabric. It's like 1/4 of an inch above, and there's a V. These are the pleats that are made there. And then there's another pleat over there. So I'm going to start pleating from the center and going to the side, and then from the center and going to the side. Okay, so this is one of the fronts united to one of the peplums. That's why I did so many efforts to get these pleats really precise, because they need to join exactly. So I'll just remove one pin here. This is going to be sewn together at 3/8 of an inch, and I'm just trying to match them around at 3/8 of an inch. So you can see there's that seam there from when I did my long basting stitch, and then it needs to come out on the other side exactly in the same place right there. And then I'm just going to pin it. So when I sew at 3/8, those pleats are going to match like this. Well, they don't look like it right now because it's just pinned. So I've done that with that pleat right there, with that pleat there, and all the way over to the side seam, everything matches there. Actually do match. Okay, that one matches, that one matches, yep. This center one, center box pleat matches the middle of that V, so that's good. That one matches there, and that one matches there. So it's a success, all the pleats match. Everything has been finished inside. This is the right wearer's side where the little slit is. And this is where the long tie is gonna go through inside like that, and then it's gonna wrap around the back, come around here, and then meet the short tie here in the front. These basting stitches from the pleats are looking terrible, so I'm just gonna start pulling them out. You saw there that I was able to get my top even by lengthening the peplum with all the pieces on their correct grain line and everything, with way less than what the pattern recommends. The pattern for the top said I needed about 2 meters, and I did it with 1.25 meters. I always play with the layout. I never look at the layout actually that's recommended by patterns. I don't want to be like influenced by that. I just want to do it myself and see how I can get the most use out of less fabric. So for the dress, it says that you need 2.8 meters. I'm sure I need less. I do have interest in making this dress because it's not a full skirt. It's more like a cocoon, sort of a more straight skirt, and I love that. I just need to put my pattern pieces on another fabric and figure out exactly how much I need so I can make another one in an appropriate fabric. I think I really want to make this in a rayon twill, solid. Burgundy comes to mind. I do want to make this again in sleeveless. The pleats aren't meant to be pressed. You're just meant to sew them and just let them drape like that. And the right here wraps over the left. So this is the right wearer side that I'm showing you. And you can see how nicely those pleats meet there. And that's why I went through all the thing of like actually sewing the pleats, marking on the wrong side, folding them in the direction that they're meant to go. You know, the edge of the fabric will always tell you how things are meant to go. You know, if you're looking at something and you want to make a mistake by folding the pleats the wrong way, you're going to have jagged edges that are not aligned. So always look out for that. It will be really easy for you to see where they really have to go, not make a mistake, and not have to look at the arrows. I find arrows on patterns super confusing, at least for me, when I see arrows and I'm like, oh, no. I'd rather the fabric and the shape of the pattern piece let me know instead of looking at the arrows. So that's my little take on pleats. Super lovely. There are a lot of pleats. I mean, there's 6 pleats here, 6 pleats on the left, and at the back there's a whole lot more pleats. But look how gorgeous that is. Just beautiful the way this forms like a V in that pleat and matches the peplum there. So pretty. Love that. I love how the neckline is finished with bias tape. You know, you can make it yourself. I used my black satin bias tape because it works well, and I didn't really have enough to make my own, although I would have loved to. I have nothing against making my own bias tape, and I actually have a video tutorial showing you how to do that. Put the thumbnail here so you can see it. I love everything about this pattern. I mean, there's absolutely nothing that I would have made differently in the design. It's just not a pattern to hack. I wouldn't hack this pattern into anything else. It's just so pretty. So I've got seams that are pressed open on the side seams there, and on the other one is where you will have a slit. You will leave an opening to put the tie through, and that's been reinforced and top stitched down. So that's good. And then you have your seams there that unite the bodice to the peplums, a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, front and back. And you see how the neckline and this curved area of the peplum and the hem is all one continuous thing. It was all done continuously with the bias binding that has been understitched and then hand basted, of course, and then sewn. You can see inside that the sleeves are finished with a hem facing, which is perfect, because the hem is curved like that. It's not a straight sleeve, and it's curved because of this detail that the sleeves have here. Look at this. It's like a pleat and a dart at the same time right there. So pretty. I hadn't seen that anywhere else ever. And the long sleeves have that similar type detail here at the bottom, so you would have that sort of on your wrist. Super pretty. I would never make the long sleeves, by the way. I just have no use for long sleeves usually. I also love that this tie is short. The one that wraps around is long, so when you actually get them to tie up, they are the same length. And I love that she thought about that to design this. Super pretty. Let's see how this one looks on. This is a far away look at my Adeline dress from Forget Me Not Patterns, Tencel Twill. This is the length I achieved after making the peplum 2 inches longer, or else it would just be too short for my height, my proportions. Here it's hitting at my mid hip, and that's where I like my tops to hit. Pencil skirt made out of lace and some heels. You won't be able to see the cute details from far, so I'll move up closer. Here you can see more. It's a full wrap top or dress, so it goes all the way around, and there's an opening for the tie here on the side, and then that tie goes on the back, and then ties here. And here you can tell this tie is shorter than the other, so when you tie it here they're level, and I like that. Now up close you can see these diagonal pleats that go that way, and then the pleats that go on the peplum that go that way. And you're not supposed to press these pleats ever, just slightly steam them. There are the same type of diagonal pleats underneath on this wrap, but you can't see that. Same as on this peplum inside. At the back you have the same type of pleats. It looks like there's a waistband there, but there isn't. It's just the tie. And then you have the pleats going in like that, and then like that. I think it's super different. I'd never seen a pattern like that. Super nice. I really like it. And the hem, because it's all curved, I love that they have you doing this with bias tape. super neat. You know, bias tape will conform to these curves, and it's how I would do it if the pattern didn't say to do it like that. So I love this neckline. It covers a whole lot, and even though it's drafted for a B cup, I feel that the pleats here and all the drafting gives your bust a lot of space, even if you have a larger cup size. So, you know, I am a C and I fit perfectly into this size. No gaping, nothing stretching. The crossover is really nice right there. I feel really comfortable. I know I'm not going to be showing any part of my bra, and I am pin free. I am absolutely pin free, and that is amazing. Okay, here you can see the sleeve. It has a dart and a pleat in that seam, and inside there's a facing. So it's hemmed with a facing, and the facing stays up super well. And such an interesting little detail. I just haven't seen anything like that anywhere else, and I love it. I think I would always want to make this style in a solid so that all these details can show. I think if you make it in a print, they'll just get lost and no one will ever see the nice pleats. They do take a little bit of time to get them precisely, you know, precise sewing, and you want to show that off in a type of fabric that will showcase that. Tencel Twill, I think this is really nice. It's really soft and really flowy like that. So I'm super happy with this top. It's super comfortable. You know, it's not so fitted at the waist. Good cover here, lots of interesting things. Loved it. Super excited about trying other patterns from this brand. I have been very impressed with everything here, the drafting, just everything, just so neat, so good. Everything's really well thought out, and the pattern pieces have been trued beautifully. Everything matches, and just the styles that she's coming up with are just very unique. And I will definitely be looking at this website and keeping an eye out on forget-me-nots, because these designs are so pretty. It's totally my style. So I will leave a link down below to this pattern. It's not an affiliate link at all. And if you would like to get this pattern for 10% less, she is celebrating having reached 10,000 followers on Instagram. So I will leave a link down below to that post where she is sharing a code to use this week for 10% off. I do follow her on Instagram and I watch her stories, and I love her accent. She is a true Kiwi. Her beautiful voice just gets me every time. As you know, I lived in New Zealand for 6 years and absolutely loved it there. I would go back tomorrow. So that's that. For this video, I'm wearing the Aomi chiffon top I made from Style Arc. Yesterday's video, if you haven't seen that, go ahead and watch it, because there is something really funny there involving some bees. So don't miss out on that fun experience. Anyway, that is all for now. I will see you again very soon with another sewing video. Bye!